Right. So we're diving into a world where games and horror films kind of become one and the same.
Yeah, they really blur the line.
They totally do. Like, you send in this list of 8 best games that feel like horror movies. And it got me thinking about how these games, they go beyond your typical jump scares.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about, like,
It's the atmosphere, right?
exactly. They create this whole immersive experience. It's like you're stepping inside a horror film.
And they draw on those classic filmmaking techniques to really get under your skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So are you ready to maybe feel a few chills down your spine?
Let's do it. I'm ready for a good scare.
All right. So first up, we've got The Evil Within. I mean, you can just tell, like, right off the bat, this game screams Shinji Mikami.
Oh yeah, the mastermind behind Resident Evil.
Exactly. The man knows horror, and the evil within, it's like stepping into one of his twisted, kind of nightmarish worlds,
He has the signature style, the camera angles, the pacing.
The pacing.
It all builds this incredible sense of dread.
It's like you just know something awful's gonna happen.
And it's not just about the creatures you encounter, although they're pretty messed up.
Oh, yeah. They are seriously messed up.
It's the psychological aspect.
Oh, tell me about it.
That constant feeling of being off balance, like you can't trust your own senses.
Totally. And the way Mikami plays with reality.
Yeah.
We're never quite sure what's real and what's not.
Exactly. And those creatures, it's not just that they're creepy, it's the design, the sounds.
The sounds. So disturbing.
He really knows how to get under your skin.
For sure. Okay, next up we have a game that I think takes this idea of interactive storytelling to a whole new level.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
All right, so think slasher film. Right.
Okay. Classic
Yeah.
horror trope.
Right. But here's the twist. In Until Dawn, you get to make the choices.
Oh, interesting. So you're not just watching the horror unfold, you're actually shaping it.
Exactly. You're deciding who lives, who dies. The pressure is on.
I bet. That's a game changer right there.
It totally is. And the way they use those branching storylines.
Oh, yeah. It's like those choose your own adventure books, but with real consequences.
Right. Every decision you make has an impact on how the story unfolds. And those intense visuals, man, they just suck you right in.
So you're not just playing a game, you're directing your own horror film.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so effective,
And terrifying. Because now you're invested in these characters.
Right. And you feel the weight of your choices.
Okay, you mentioned intense visuals. I've got to ask about Dead Space now.
Oh, man, get ready for some serious cosmic dread.
Hit me with it.
Imagine this. You're trapped on this derelict spaceship.
Okay, creepy already.
Right. And it's not just creepy, it's claustrophobic. You can practically feel the walls closing in on you.
And I bet the sound design is out of this world.
Oh, man, don't even get me started.
Is it like Alien? That movie had incredible sound.
Totally. That feeling of isolation, the eerie silence of space, and then,
Yeah.
bam, the necromorphs show up.
Oh God, the necromorphs. The stuff of nightmares.
They are something else. The way they move, the sounds they make. It's like a messed up symphony of horror,
It's like that primal fear of the unknown, something lurking in the dark.
Exactly. And it's not just about jump scares. Dead Space messes with your head. You're constantly on edge, never sure if you're safe.
And the necromorphs themselves, they're like nothing you've ever seen.
Totally. They're grotesque, but there's also something kind of tragic about them.
It's like they were once human, which just makes it even more disturbing.
Right. That whole idea of something familiar becoming twisted and monstrous, which actually brings us perfectly to Alien. Isolation.
Oh man. This game is the definition of a slow burn, but in the best way possible.
Totally. Like Dead Space, it taps into that primal fear of the unknown, the feeling of being hunted. But this time, it's personal.
You're talking about the xenomorph, just one of them, and it's relentless.
Exactly. You're constantly looking over your shoulder, holding your breath, praying it doesn't hear you. It's that classic cat and mouse game, but with life or death stakes. And what I find so brilliant about it is that you can't just fight the xenomorph head on. You have to use your wits, your environment to survive.
Exactly. It's all about strategy and stealth, just like in the original Alien film.
Yeah.
You have to outsmart the creature, because if it catches you, well, game over.
It's a game that really makes you confront that feeling of vulnerability, of being completely outmatched, and that's terrifying in a way that few games can replicate.
So we've gone from grotesque creatures to being hunted by the ultimate predator. What's next on the list?
Okay, this one's a bit different. We're going full psychological horror with Silent Hill.
Oh, Silent Hill. Now that's a game that knows how to get in your head. I still get chills just thinking about it.
Right. It's a masterpiece of atmosphere. That fog-shrouded town, the haunting music, the unsettling
It's
creatures.
like stepping into a nightmare.
Exactly. But it's not just about the external horrors. Silent Hill really digs into those deep-seated fears, those dark parts of ourselves we try to ignore.
It's about the darkness within, the things we suppress, the secrets we keep hidden.
And those creatures, they're like manifestations of the character's inner turmoil, their guilt, their shame.
It's psychological horror at its finest. You're not just battling monsters, you're battling your own demons.
And the game does an incredible job of making you question reality. You're never quite sure what's real and what's a figment of your imagination, which just adds to the whole sense of unease.
It's a game that sticks with you long after you finish playing it.
It definitely does.
Ta-
Okay, ready for another one? This time we're going full found footage with Outlast.
Oh man, Outlast. Talk about a game that knows how to push your buttons. The whole found footage style just makes it so much more immersive.
Right, you're not just watching the horror unfold, you're experiencing it through the lens of that shaky camera.
And that night vision. It's such a simple mechanic, but it's so effective.
Oh, I know, right? It just heightens the sense of vulnerability. You're stumbling around in the dark, never knowing what's lurking around the next corner.
And the asylum setting. You're trapped in this dilapidated, nightmarish place with no way out.
And the patience.
Don't even get me started on the patience.
Each one is like a walking nightmare. They're grotesque, unpredictable, and utterly terrifying.
And the fact that you're completely defenseless. You can't fight back. You can only run and hide, which again just makes it that much more terrifying.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about a game that takes a different approach to horror.
Okay, I'm game.
So this one is Dead by Daylight. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, I've heard good things. It's that multiplayer slasher game, right?
You got it. It's like stepping into your own horror movie, but you can choose to be the survivor or the killer.
That's such a cool concept, so you get to experience the horror from both sides.
Exactly. And they've got all these iconic killers from horror films. Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, they're all there.
That's awesome. So it's like a love letter to the slasher genre.
Totally. It takes those classic tropes, those iconic characters, and throws them into this really intense multiplayer experience.
And it's not just about mindless slashing, is it? There's strategy involved, both for the survivors and the killers.
Exactly. As a survivor, you have to work together with your team to outsmart the killer and escape. And as the killer, you need to predict the survivor's movements, set traps, and use your unique abilities to hunt them down.
It sounds terrifying.
It's-
In a good way.
Yeah,
I bet the adrenaline rush is intense, whether you're being hunted or doing the hunting.
it totally is. Okay, for our final game, we're going back to the camp with The Quarry.
Ah, the Quarry.
Yeah.
Now that's a game that feels like a classic teen horror flick.
Totally. It's got everything you'd expect, a group of camp counselors, a spooky location, a lurking supernatural threat.
And of course, a healthy dose of teen drama to spice things up.
Exactly. But what really makes The Quarry stand out is the way it embraces interactive storytelling. Your choices actually matter.
So you can shape the fate of these characters.
You got it. You decide who lives, who dies, who hooks up with whom. It's all up to you.
That's awesome. So it's like those choose your own adventure movies, but with even higher stakes.
Exactly. And the game does a great job of capturing those classic teen horror tropes while also adding its own unique twist.
And it's got a great cast of characters. They're not just your typical horror movie stereotypes. They feel real, relatable, which just makes their fate all the more impactful.
Exactly. It's like you really care about these characters, which just makes the scary parts even scarier.
So we've talked about a lot of scary games. What is it about horror, do you think, that keeps us coming back for more? Why do we enjoy being scared?
That's a great question. I think it's about confronting our fears in a safe environment. It's like a roller coaster. It's a rush, but you know you're safe.
I think that makes sense. It's a controlled scare. We get to experience those intense emotions, fear, anxiety, even dread. But we know that at the end of the day, it's just a game.
Yeah. And maybe there's also something to be said for the catharsis of it all. Like, facing our fears, even in a virtual world, can be empowering in a strange way.
I think you're right. It's like a way of testing ourselves, seeing how we react to these extreme situations. And when we survive, when we come out the other side, it feels good.
So what's your next Fright Night pick? Any games you're dying to play?
Well, I've been meaning to check out Visage. I heard it's one of the scariest games out there. What about you?
Oh, I've heard good things about that one. For me, I think it's time for a replay of PT. That demo still gives me nightmares.
Oh, classic. It's amazing how much tension and dread they packed into such a short experience.
It's a masterpiece of atmosphere. Well, this has been quite the deep dive into the world of horror games.
It has. It's been a blast talking about all things terrifying.
Me too. And who knows, maybe we'll do this again sometime. We've only just scratched the surface of this genre.
I'm always up for a good scare.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, keep the lights on.
Sweet dreams.